Maloelele, this is Pacific Waves from RNZ Pacific. I'm Koroi Hawkins. Coming up, Tonga's former Solicitor General backs moves to give the king more control of diplomacy. Also, Cook Islands looks to extend its deep-sea mining exploration phase. And a faith-driven boxer is ready to represent Samoa at the World Games in Liverpool. A former Solicitor General of Tonga says a bill aiming to move foreign affairs control away from government is good because it will at least provide some certainty. Lawyer Aminiasi Kefu, who also served as acting Attorney General in the kingdom, says foreign affairs has always operated in a grey area. He spoke to Don Wiseman about His Majesty's Diplomatic Services Bill, which passed earlier this month.
I think it's a good move for certainty. To be frank, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has been operating in a grey area for a number of years, even before the 2010 reform. I say that because the Ministry of Foreign Affairs had always had a foot under the two main constitutional authorities in Tonga, and that's under the King and also under the Prime Minister. Even before 2010, previously, before the reforms, His Majesty appointed the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Prime Minister and Cabinet, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs was accountable to His Majesty directly through Cabinet and also Privy Council because the Minister of Foreign Affairs was there. But at the same time, the administrative head of Foreign Affairs, so this is again pre-reforms, was still appointed under the Prime Minister's office, under the public service regulations for appointing heads of departments, but still the appointment of that head of department was still under the consultation of His Majesty.
This appears to be an undoing of the move toward more democracy that came in 2010, with the King standing apart from government, being directly involved in government, but this is reinforcing his grip on government to a certain extent, isn't it?
Yes, to a certain extent from some angle that people would be watching. But again, as I mentioned, this makes it clearer where foreign affairs stands. When we had the reforms in 2010, the two fundamental areas that were not to be part of the reform was the King's prerogative powers and also land. When we had the reforms, the King's royal prerogative powers regarding foreign affairs were not changed. They still remain the same. And hence why foreign affairs had been operating in a grey area, because the constitutional powers of the King regarding foreign affairs were still there, whereas the administrative powers regarding foreign affairs were moved to the Prime Minister's office. And so they were always operating in a situation where who's actually the boss of foreign affairs. And since 2010, all the Prime Ministers have had this issue with foreign affairs because of this legal situation that the King still has constitutional powers over foreign affairs, and then the Prime Minister has executive powers. This here legislation clarifies now the situation, that it will come to the King. Technically, there's still a bridge. It's not totally out of government because under the new legislation, there's still going to be a minister for His Majesty's Diplomatic Services. And of course, under the current constitution, a cabinet minister is appointed by the Prime Minister. And obviously, it's an area where His Majesty is involved. There will be consultation. And we see that now because of the Crown Prince is currently Minister of Foreign Affairs. That's obviously come through after consultation of the Prime Minister and His Majesty. So do you understand what I mean? That there's now more clarity on where the actual powers are and who's directing the diplomatic services.
Yes, but you could have got this clarity moving in the other direction with the King making his one-step removal or his one step to the side more clear.
Yeah, and I think it just reflects because of the tension between the constitution and the legal framework that's been demonstrated since 2010. This current King has seen it his way forward to try to fix that problem, because obviously there's been a disconnect between the palace and the Prime Minister's office on matters of foreign affairs. And to be frank, neither party accepted that situation or understood the dynamics under the constitution reforms. And so it caused the tension, and throughout since 2010, since Lord Duval to Akilisi, etc., there's always been a tension there regarding foreign affairs. But like I said, it's still within the overriding power of foreign affairs still at Clause 39 with the King.
What can we expect in terms of performance? Some people have been suggesting the country could see a return to selling passports, as happened controversially back in 20 or so years ago in Tonga. That wouldn't happen?
That's unrealistic. We've learned from that situation. We've learned through that phase. I doubt it. There's still going to be that accountability and checks and balances, because it will be a Privy Council with the King at the head of the diplomatic services. You'll also have there the Minister Cabinet. The diplomatic services, as a statutory body, will still be required to, I anticipate, report to Parliament, because the Minister of Foreign Affairs is the head there and is in Parliament, so he'll be expected to provide diplomatic services annual reports. And they're not going to be on their own as in autonomy. They'll still be subject to the laws of the land. It's not going to be run just as a separate body itself.
So you anticipate solid standard of performance by Foreign Affairs operated out of the Palace office?
Yeah, I think there'll be more fluidity, more certainty, clarity on how they operate, where they stand. The thing that I would just question is that connection with the Cabinet to ensure that is strong, particularly with their finances, their reporting and staffing of that new body. So that's the thing that obviously they will have to work out amongst themselves when this body eventually comes into force.
The Cook Islands government is considering expanding its deep-sea mining exploration licenses. One company CEO says they need more time in the exploration phase, but are confident mining will happen. Caleb Fotheringham has more.
The Cook Islands is 3.5 years into its 5-year exploration phase. Mining can only happen if companies can prove to the government it can be done without causing serious damage to the environment. Edward Herman from Cook Islands Seabed Minerals Authority, the government agency in charge of deep-sea mining, says an extension of the exploration phase is being looked at.
There is a likelihood of that being extended as well, because if we cannot get the data within the next year and a half of what's left, very likely that we'll need to extend it. But sometimes researchers can perform a lot of work within a year and a half, but at the moment it's very challenging.
Mr. Herman says more information is needed before a decision is made.
We need baseline data to make an informed science decision. So if the data is not available, we'll require more data.
Hans Smit, the CEO of deep-sea mining company Moana Minerals, says an exploration license extension is needed.
We definitely need an extension in the exploration phase. If you just look at the time it takes for the Cook Islands to assess and evaluate our environmental permit application and our mining license application, there's not enough time. If I were to submit tomorrow, I wouldn't have an answer before my exploration license expired.
Mr. Smit is bullish about the industry in the Cook Islands, saying if everything goes to plan, mining could start in 2028, 2029. He says it's not a question of if mining happens, but when.
In my opinion, absolutely. What we have seen is that we certainly haven't run into any massive abundance of animals that could create a problem. We're also seeing that the animals that we are seeing are reasonably dispersed across the greater Cook Islands area.
Mr. Smith says the design for the mining system is already complete.
We have the vessel identified. It's in Greece. We've identified the shipyards where we do the modifications. What we're waiting for is at what point do we decide to pull the trigger and start doing that work to convert this ship into the mining vessel.
Public debate has heated up in the Cook Islands since exploration started. Last year there was a protest in Rarotonga against the industry, and there's been increasing public consultations taking place across the nation. The leader of the opposition, Tina Brown, believes the government has already decided it wants to pursue deep-sea mining despite the science being inconclusive. Environmental NGO Te Pukurea Society President June Hosking thinks exploration is a good thing, but worries the focus is on how commercially viable the industry is, not what the environmental implications will be if mining does happen.
I personally think if they do honest exploration, they'll discover it's not a good idea to mine, that it's going to do too much damage to the environment, right? And the only way to be able to prove that is to do the exploration.
June Hosking says the environment can also be damaged through exploration and urges companies to be careful.
New Zealand-born Samoan boxer Miracle Key is set to represent Samoa at the World Boxing Championship in Liverpool next month. The 24-year-old says he's driven by faith and family. His long-term aims are to represent his country at the Commonwealth and Olympic Games and turn professional. Susana Suisuiki spoke with Miracle Key and began by asking how preparations are going.
Talaflava, Susana, prep is going well. 7 weeks in camp, 2 weeks away from the tournament. And yeah, it's going real good. Training's been tough, but I guess we're well prepared for it.
Awesome. I'm just wondering, how did you get into boxing in the first place?
I started boxing at the age of 14. My dad introduced me to the sport. I wanted to join boxing to drop a bit of weight, as I was playing footy before transitioning into boxing. I put on a lot of weight, and then I found a gym just around the corner, and my dad took me there and started training. And then I'll have my first fight and see how my first fight goes. If I win, and then I'll continue. And then I started winning my first 2 belts, and yeah, just continue from there.
So what started off as something to help you get into shape has now become a bit of a passion for you, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, it's interesting that we're now seeing online and in the media this conversation open up about Pasifika athletes choosing to represent their heritage. We're seeing NRL player Payne Haas making the switch from Australia to Samoa. But for you, Miracle, why are you wanting to represent Samoa when you could represent New Zealand?
It's always been a goal of mine since I started boxing, and also a goal of my dad has played a big part in my boxing career. So repping Samoan is special for me. It's massive. I guess this will go down as history for not only myself but for my family, and hopefully I make history for Samoa and bring back the gold medal.
Before I start asking you questions more about your boxing journey, whereabouts in Samoa do you hail from? Like which villages?
So my dad's from Mofali, Tongapu and Vaimoso, and my mom's from Folealili, Talangi, Folealili, and
Do you go to Samoa often, or?
the last time I went was obviously the trial, and since before that, I was in Samoa 2018, I think. I'd only go often 24 on church.
So how does your Samoan culture influence your daily life?
I guess growing up in a Samoan traditional family, also in church as ex-pastor's son, and I think the tradition's always been within my family, also in church. And we've always we've always included our tradition in everything that we do. And I'm proud to do it, especially in the sport of boxing and also on the world stage.
Nice. Just coming back to your sporting pursuits, what's been some of the challenges that you've had to overcome in your boxing journey?
I think the biggest challenge that I've had so far was losing my dad, which was 2 years ago, and I kind of backtracked a bit, took time off from boxing, and yeah, that ruined my momentum. So I had 3 months off, and then I had to bounce. I had to come back into the ring and make my return early last year. And yeah, no, it's been tough, but I'm getting there.
Really sorry to hear about your father's passing, Miracle. What are some of the lessons that he's passed on to you that's helped you overcome your life's challenges?
I guess my dad and my mom would always encourage me to put God first, prioritize God, and everything else will fall into place. And since it's always been a motto that my dad would always tell me is put God first, everything else will fall into place. Always put in the work, God will do the rest for me. That's what my career has been, and it's been happening, and I'm just thankful and blessed that I'm in the position I am today because of God.
That's Pacific Waves for today. For all episodes, head over to rnz.co.nz/Pacific. We're also on Spotify, Apple, and iHeartRadio. Malo opito, happy Tongan Language Week from myself and the RNZ Pacific team.